That growth that you talked about, 150% in the first year, you said?
Yeah.
How did that happen? What channels were you marketing through? What did you do to make those tweaks internal? You talked about invoicing, collecting payments on time, things like that, but were there other tips,
Yeah, I
things
mean,
that happened?
Tom, my business partner, was everything in the business. He would burn screens, he would do a lot of the printing, he
Hmm.
would answer emails, and he would do the billing at night.
Sure.
And he really didn't have, he did it all by carbon copy pieces of paper. I, every morning, have about 50 emails in my inbox with customers, and some days it's hard for me and my office manager to answer them. I can't even imagine how he was able to answer them. And so I think when I stepped up to the plate, I was able to just process people a lot quicker. So I think the first thing was just the speed at which I could turn around an inquiry into a job, right? I could get a customer a proof, an order, a quote, and I could get that probably a lot faster than they used to be.
Hmm.
So I think that's number one. Number two was we had a way, and we use Printavo every day. We have it on all our tablets and stuff, but we were able to see jobs, forecast, plan, and therefore we could produce jobs a lot quicker. I mean, I can produce, there are days where Tom, my business partner, will say, we can take more orders today or we can't take more orders today for this week. And every day we keep pushing the envelope because we are just tightening the bolts and making ourselves so much more efficient to the point where none of us even have to be in the shop for us to place orders anymore. And that's the beauty of it, is we're all kind of on the same page now.
Hmm.
And all of our oars are kind of rowing at the same pace. And that has to be one of the biggest things. Probably you see this, Bruce, when you see a lot of shops going through this transition. It does take some time.
Hmm.
But once everyone's oars are in a row and they start paddling, it's like crazy how much more you can produce at such a faster rate.
Sure. So the biggest thing you're talking about is efficiency. So getting everyone on the same page, transparency throughout the business, get everyone streamlined. So once you had that, what sorts of marketing channels were you using to help push out your services and
hmm
be able to reach new people?
So I think using your current relationships to leverage new relationships. Believe it or not, I started working with college students, and I took my 5 top customers and I actually turned them into my employees. And so they're actually my salespeople. So I have one channel of students that sell a lot of apparel with me. And to put into perspective, I now have about 15 that are going to sell over $500,000 this year. So I'm leveraging those current
That's amazing.
students. I'm leveraging those current relationships. I turned them into my employees, and then I had them work through their networks. That was one way, which is a little more uncommon for the typical screen printing business.
Sure.
But just by interacting with my customers on a regular basis and giving them content on a regular basis, and by emailing them, it sounds silly, but sending them an email once a month and letting them know what we were up to always made them have us at the top of their minds. And so it's crazy. I would get text messages from some customers be like, hey, I'm sending someone your way. Like, I saw your guys' Facebook post about this, And so it's like people want to help people get their shirts ordered, because when you have that, and I'll talk about this in some of my blogs, is everyone has their guy that prints shirts. Oh, I got a guy that can do that. So Steven turned into the t-shirt guy, and my friends had a guy, and that was me. And so
Sure.
when I kept building that network up and being right in front of them and showing them all the stuff I was doing, I kept building up that network. So one basic way of doing it was just communicating with all my customers on a monthly basis using something as simple as MailChimp.
Okay. So you use MailChimp and you set up your contacts in there and sent it out monthly.
Yeah, so after using we used Printavo for a year, and we had all of our customers in an email base. I scraped all the customers from Outlook. I loaded them up on MailChimp. It was 1,000 customers or so, and I would just send them stuff once a month, hey, happy spring. We're working on Mom's Weekend here in Champaign-Urbana. Let us know Little League's around the corner. Get your spirit wear, and I would send them 3 or 4 things, and they appreciated that. My open rates on some of those emails were 75%.
Really?
And that
That's
was
huge.
crazy. It was in my first year with such a small audience, people were listening to me.
Really? Wow.
And
75% is crazy.
Yeah, and so I run some pretty big marketing campaigns now for some other companies, and I'm sending emails out to 50, 60,000 people where the open rate is less than 15% if I'm lucky. And when I was sending out very specific, unique messages to a small audience, and it could be 500, it could be 1,000. People were opening it and people were listening. And I was very, very specific about the way I was targeting those messages and trying to be intimate with them. I think another thing I did that I really like, Bruce, and this is something you do all the time, is I sent out surveys to my customers. Tell me things you like, tell me things you didn't like. And we would just change our business, and it gave them a way to be involved, and it allowed them to interact with us and to know that they were a part of the growth of our business. I think that was really, really important.
So a lot of email blasts, regular, very personalized, and then surveys to understand your customer base. Yeah, we definitely like to do the same too and try to get as close to our customers that way as possible. And you talk about one thing as well, which is that personal branding side, which is interesting. So is the Steve, the t-shirt guy that, this is the guy that I go to get that done. Was that coming from just you, being out there talking to people, or did you really label yourself as that?
Yeah.
How did that grow?
I mean, it was twofold. One, I was Steven, the t-shirt guy in Champaign-Urbana. But two, I put my name on just about everything, so people knew the name Steven. And it's funny, I kind of get that from you, Bruce. Everyone knows Bruce from Printavo.
Sure.
And, the funny story I'll tell, the reason I realized my name holds a pretty good personal brand is when we were out in Long Beach, everyone was coming up to you and saying, hey, you're Bruce from Printavo. And they're like, yeah, that's me, I'm Bruce. But your name holds a lot of your brand. And, Bruce, whether we know your last name or not, we know you're Bruce from Printavo.